1, physical structure and materials. This week we're discussing the areas of the classroom, and the purpose of this week is to brainstorm functionality of each section, area, workstation, or zone. They're all going to kind of mean the same thing, and how each area is defined and what we're going to do from beginning to end of each area. You'll also have the opportunity to design your classroom, assign zones, and think about all of the structure and layout and flow of your room. Resources we're going to be using: physical structure checklist, workstation planning tool, floor plan and layout, classroom zones, DTI SCB Rotation, motor lab bundle. Resources that are included in this week you can find on the Facebook group. You can also find in the email list. You can also find everything on my blog or my YouTube videos. If you want a bundle altogether, you can download the bundle itself, or you can join my mentorship, Colo says, and get everything all together all at once. Products, resources, videos. Did you know that providing a clear structure for your classroom is a research-based antecedent strategy? It helps prevent problem behavior, increase student and staff independence, and it helps improve self-esteem. When you're able to do something on your own, you become stronger and smarter and more confident. I use just a roll of different colored Amazon tape. I'll link that for you guys. It is an affiliate link. I use tape for everything. Each kid gets a color tape. The staff get red, and students aren't allowed to cross and go into red unless they ask. So there's all kinds of little things you can do. Carpets, furniture, lots of ideas for your structure of your room, and we'll go through all of that in this week. To keep in mind that some students may have different types of materials and equipment. So if you did the prep week, you've already gone through the IEPs and you kind of have noted, oh, okay, this student has a walker, this one has a wheelchair, this one needs a slant board, this one needs or has assistive technology and a communication device, or adaptive scissors, or there's just lots and lots of stuff. Or if they come with a private duty nurse, you're going to need an area for the private duty nurse. All of those things add up and take up space in your classroom. So you need to kind of keep those things in mind. You need to have areas for all of that special equipment, the bulkier stuff, the fragile stuff, where they won't get broken, but they can still be utilized with students and staff. So keep that in mind as you're scheduling and planning your room. When you're beginning to plan each area, I want you to think about what is going to happen in this area, what is going to occur. How will you arrange the furniture? You can use tables, you can use bookcases, room dividers, bookshelves, filing cabinets, curtains, rugs, different tape. There's all kinds of things you can do to divide an area of the room. Also think, where will the location of each area be? You can also use colored squares. I've seen those vinyl stickers on the tables, put tape on the tables, the classroom tape, and then I put 2 pieces of clear packaging tape on top. That typically lasts half a year to a full year, depending on how many pickers you have. Sometimes they're more frequent use of tape when I have pickers. You also want to think about the flow, how we're going to navigate and move around the room. I want you to stop and think for a second, and as we go about our daily lives, what kind of things do you guys see, whether it's at home or in your physical workplace or at the grocery store or driving? What things do you see that provide us as adults with physical structure and visual reminders? So that could be parking lots. You need the lines of the parking spaces. That could be signs on the highway to yield or stop or slow down, or hey, there's deer in this area. There could be you putting reminders on your phone. That is a visual reminder for you, and you block out your time on your day. That is giving yourself a physical structure of the time of the day rather than the physical structure of your room. And we use checklists. So all these things we utilize in a day, but then we don't give them to our kids. And it doesn't make a lot of sense. So if we use them, here's an example. We were eating out at Taco Cabana, waiting in line. I was like, hey, look, there's all of these visual recipes on the wall right next to the to-go station. I ran up and snapped a picture. So think of 3 examples that you see in your everyday life and let me know what you found or what you thought of in regards to the physical structure you use in your everyday life. Now we're going to break down some common areas in a self-contained classroom and see what they look like. We're going to go over centers and stations, large group areas, small group areas, independent stations, and one-on-one stations. I can really discuss the sensory motor aspect, although I do have a Motor Lab bundle that you can use, but I also suggest you utilize your occupational therapist, OT, or your physical therapist, PT, and they can support you in getting set up with sensory and motor. We're going to touch a little bit more on that on the behavior section. Remember, each area should serve a purpose. There is a one-on-one or a two-on-one, it's going to be current IEP goals and skills. One-on-one, small group can both be focusing on IEP goals, and you want to do direct instruction teach, especially for one-on-one. And I use a rotation, kind of like you see here, to flow students to different areas, like for reading. We eliminated the kids' names and put them on the Velcro, and then the next day we would move the kids' names over to the next thing, and then I had 3 groups, so I could pull 6 kids a day. And typically I do the direct teach because it's a new skill. So staff will then take that new skill later on and generalize it. Small group is also where you can practice social skills or review other skills that you've learned or taught in the past month or week or year, or things that you just need to review, like, oh, hey, remember in this center we don't do this, let's practice doing this instead. So all of those things you can address in a small group. They're great for games, as long as the game doesn't get too rowdy and distract from your other groups. So if they all have addition, or they all have subtraction, or they all have a shape or color goal, or like for reading, if they're all writing sentences, great to be able to combine it together, because then you can balance ideas and create a whole environment for them. Anything that is independent needs to be mastered or review or maintenance. Something that they can do on their own and they don't need staff support constantly, but you will need to have staff monitoring to make sure they're staying on task. T.E.A.C.C.H, and it's a work-based system, and it's got a very structured flow and activities, but I have students in my 5th and 6th grade class doing it, and I've heard of elementary kids doing it as well. Math station, reading station can be a great review. They could just read basic stories or books. They could use as a maintenance or review of mastered skills, and you want to be able to foster independence as much as possible. If you're putting a prompt in place, you want to remove it. We'll also be talking more in step 2 about how staff can be utilized in different rotations and how you can rotate staff and students all together in a more functional schedule. Just limiting it to about 20 minutes per station or area. If students finish early before they can go on to the next one, you may want to have filler activities in that station for them to complete until the timer goes off. So I do work to a timer for this area. It's so hard for our students to learn to wait for a timer. They just want to like zoom through and be done. It's teaching them to fill in the time and find things to do until the time goes off. This large group for us is still a lot of work, and think when you're doing large group, where should they end up going? The goal is to get them back out into inclusion. The goal is to get them to be included with their peers, to be part of the general education setting. And in order to do that, they need to have skills such as sitting, waiting, keeping their hands and their feet to themselves, keeping their feet on the floor, keeping clothes on, sitting at their desk. All those things are important. So this large group really hones in on all of that stuff and makes them participate in a large group setting for an extended period of time, 20 minutes. I really focus on this for our reading, and it's great for news to you. For those group lessons, you're going to model what you want the student to do or to learn, and I usually make an extra copy for me so that way I can show them what we're going to do. Art is a great example of a group activity. Like, we're doing the thing first and then we show them and then they assemble it together. Science is another great one. For academics, make sure that they get the opportunity to complete the task too. That way it's more meaningful to them. Just like your other stations, you want the group station to be as functional as possible and be away from distractions. Anything that a staff or a student might need in that area, have it in a bucket or a basket, or labels, like they all have a pencil box so they can take their pencil box and go around the room with it. You want to have that reinforcement of what the students are working for, or fidgets for them to use, and you can have just a variety of different things for the students, especially when you need that filler moment for them to do just a trinket of something while you jot something down, or you're working with the next kid and that kid can do a puzzle or something. Some great things that I've mentioned for dividing the classroom: you can make yourself cheap PVC pipe dividers. Ask your district though if there's anything that you can use that would be helpful to set up and separate your classroom. I want to also mention that this is the brief video, the outline version. If you want to see a full-length version with all the things that I talk about in detail, you can find that on my Patreon or my mentor page, PRODCUTS. Okay, a lot of information, and I get that, but this is the beginning of your classroom. It is the physical intervention part of your classroom, the antecedent of a lot of behaviors, and it will help manage the flow, and it will help you understand what to do. If you need clarification on step 1, structure and materials, let me know in the comments, email me, find me on social media. I'd like to know what other questions, comments, or concerns you've had. Also, what have you used in your class for physical structure? Have you used the same things that I have, or do you have something more clever in your mind? I would love to hear. And I will see you guys in week 2, master class schedule. Okay, try to say that 5 times fast. DTI Fluency Station Rotation. DTI Fluency Station Rotation. DTI Fluency Station. Okay, this one is as hard as I thought it was. Anyways, so students, on to small group. I think we're halfway done. Small group is those IEP about these Ziploc baggies. I do that for the tortoise is coming out again. So the Ziploc bags I have ready to go for kids. Testing, testing, testing. Oh, please don't wake up.